Hey everyone, you may remember not too long ago I actually unboxed Jazz's incredible Inky box, and I mentioned how I wanted to make a video dedicated on each art supply. Well, today I'm going to be drawing with Jazz's deluxe writing collection. This is a beautiful glass dip pen and it has a whole bunch of nibs and also some ink. I do have a small amount of experience with drawing with a dip pen, so I'm really excited to get into this and just test it out because it has been quite a while. Now, having a closer look at this pen here, we can see that it is quite beautiful. The craftsmanship that goes into this pen, I am pretty amazed. I don't know the price of this pen, and some of you could probably tell me in the comments below, but honestly it feels such high quality. I'm really interested to see how this feather pen ink goes when I actually put it down on the paper and make a drawing. Now, I'm not going to be swatching all of the nibs today because I actually did that in the unboxing video, and yeah, we're just going to get right into making some artwork. Now, before I begin on the pen drawing, I actually want to prepare a nice surface for me to draw over. I'm actually going to be using some other inks here, as you can see, just to have a little bit of a watercolory kind of texture, which I'm going to then be painting or at least drawing over the top with my ink pen. I really love that style where you have like watercolor splashes and drops and like, you know, intermingling colors, and then like separate to that you have like an ink drawing over the top with very sort of line art heavy details. I just think that that aesthetic is really nice and I just want to try it myself. So I have three separate pieces of watercolor paper here. One of them is quite intense, one of them is quite subtle, and the last one is quite in the middle there. I'm really interested to see what I can create over the top of these. So for the first one, this is quite a subtle background. As you can see, it is mostly reds and like tiny little hints of orange here and there, and it's sort of like splashed on in a way where it's quite pastel and there's only a few areas of actual dark ink. I actually did this on purpose because the other one that I created was quite crazy. That one was very heavy on detail and I wanted to have something soft to start out with. So as you can see from the sketch here, I have decided to begin with a rose. I wanted to see if I could draw a rose with lots of little delicate lines with this pen and see how I can go with the line weight variations, because some of those lines, especially on the leaves, I figure are going to be quite thin and some areas are going to be quite heavy too, as you can see. Now straight away I can feel that this pen feels very natural when drawing. It does take a little bit getting used to, especially since nibs sort of like work differently than you would like with a felt tip pen. But I actually really like the nib that I'm actually using at the moment. I'm not sure what it's called, but this one feels very, very soft and less scratchy than other nibs in the set and just other nibs in general. I know some people like that sort of scratchy feeling that you can get with a dip pen, but I'm overall not a huge fan of that. Now with this drawing, as you can see, I'm starting off with all of the thicker areas, well, most of the thicker areas, most notably the stem and the leaves. I know that these leaves, I want to have them quite detailed with all of their lines, as you can see that I'm doing now, so that's why I needed a really thick outline around that so that they still, you know, had a visible shape. Now I have actually switched my nib over to a thinner one, and we are going in and we're just going to draw some rough sort of swirly lines and these are going to be like the veins in the leaves, and I am drawing them quite a bit more detailed than I usually would draw leaves, but I want this drawing to be quite line art heavy. As you can see, that is pretty much how we are getting the detail. And of course I wanted to see if I could put these pen nibs to the test. Now after this, I still wanted a little bit of texture on that stem, so I'm just drawing some very, very thin lines, just little rough strokes down the, length of the stem to try and get it to look, kind of textured. Now going into the petals, I am drawing some lines as well, but I'm leaving them a little bit thinner, and I'm also doing them not everywhere compared to the leaves. I'm just mainly putting them in areas where I think will have a little bit of shadow. After this, I switched back to my thicker nib that I really like, and I am just going in and drawing the outside shapes and the line work for the petals. Now I am still adding a few details here and there very lightly, and I have to say this nib still works really nicely for thin lines. The variations you can get are quite impressive. Now unfortunately, as you can see, I did smudge it a tiny bit on the bottom right hand side of the page, and that sucks, but I can fix it up with Photoshop at the end if I really have to. So here is the final result of the rose, and I actually really love this. I really love the limited color palette and just the details in it and the weird splotchiness. It looks cool. So for my next one, I am going to be drawing an animal. I love drawing animals. Animals are one of my favorite subjects to draw, and I actually decided on a creature that I don't often draw actually, and that is, as you can see, or at least I think you can see, is a frog. Quite specifically a red-eyed tree frog, but the eyes are actually not going to be red in this drawing because obviously we just have the splotches behind. Now funny thing with this, I decided I wanted to draw a frog, so I just sort of googled around and looked at different frogs, and I found this one to be quite cute, but I didn't exactly pick it specifically for the color palette. But then when I was looking at the background and then looking at the reference picture I have for this frog, I realized that the color palette is exactly the same as this frog. Now as you can see, I do have a little bit of blue, yellow and green splotches, and it looks quite nice, but you can also see some tiny little red splotches and that was actually an accident because I had actually created this all of the pieces together on the same table and at the same time, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a happy accident because we got some tiny little red splotches when I was painting the other red one, and I actually realized that with the addition of those tiny little red splotches, this is the exact color palette that this frog actually has. I just thought that that was a little bit of an interesting tidbit that happened. But yeah, drawing this frog was super fun, especially since it is a little bit less detailed than I'm used to drawing. It really sort of freed me up to, work on those lines that I'm actually using. Now I have to tell you, it took me an incredibly long time for this simple drawing, and the most of that time was just me trying to find a reference picture that I liked. Frogs don't have a huge amount of poses that they can sit in, and I didn't want to just draw a frog, sitting forward facing the camera. I kind of want something a little bit more interesting where you can see the legs more, but you can also see like its chest area, and I just was searching so many pictures of frogs, and honestly they are just so cute. I'm gonna be real with you, I think I should probably draw frogs more because I had so much fun with this one. Now we're actually going in with a little bit of white ink here, and this is ink, not paint. And this was fun too because it has a sort of pattern on its side that this frog has, and I actually went in and did that with the white ink, and I think it was a really interesting sort of look over the watercolory pattern. And then of course I just went over and just added a few highlights here and there just to add a little bit more detail, since the line art is not too heavy compared to the last drawing. So here's the results for the little froggy, and I honestly love this one. I think it's really cute, and I think he's just like sticking up on the wall there, looking all cute and happy, and yeah, I love it. So for this next drawing, it's actually going to be a little bit more complex, and that is mainly because of the background. As you can see, there are just so many paint splotches everywhere, and if I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say that it is not what I first intended. I kind of just wanted a nice sort of, you know, watercolory pattern with like some reds, purples, and warm yellow tones in there as well. But I just couldn't get the pattern the way I wanted it to, so I just kept layering up different layers of ink, and then I added a bit of white in there too, and then I just, you know, went full ham and did lots of sort of paint splatters everywhere. And then this reminded me of a concept of an artwork that I had in my head for quite a long time now. I wasn't sure if I wanted to actually draw this artwork, but it was one of those ideas that just come to me randomly, and then I sort of just sit on it for a while. So there's a story behind this drawing, and this story basically goes is that there is this young sort of angel girl. I don't know if she's like an actual angel, but she's a girl with wings and she's sort of living in like a toxic place, and she doesn't know how to get out. But she doesn't actually realize that she has wings on her back, and so she feels like she's trapped and stuck there, but in reality she actually has these wings, and eventually she realizes that she has these wings, and then she gets herself out of the crazy toxic situation that she has been in for so long. I really wanted to try and capture her mood with the background as well as her pose, and try and just evoke a bit more emotion in this piece, because honestly I really love the pieces where I just show like a strong emotion, not specifically a happy emotion. It could be anything. It could be, you know, anger, or, you know, guilt, or, you know, desperation. I like artworks that sort of evoke you to feel things and also tell a really interesting story. And I really like how the background really does sort of capture the chaos that she must be feeling inside her. Now, as you can see, I did actually use a paintbrush in this, and that's because I wanted those wings to stand out on that very, very crazy background. So I ended up coloring them in completely with black, and I had to actually layer it a few times because, as you can see, the colors are sort of showing through a little bit. I could have used the dip pen to like completely color in them, but honestly that would be torture. So I just used a paintbrush because it was easier and it probably has a better result. But yeah, I really love this one, and I feel like it has to be my favorite of the three. I just really like the story behind it and the emotion that it captures, and also all of the colors on it look really cool as well. So here is the final results of this one, and I really love the details and the colors and the patterns in it. And also, here are the results for the whole video. Drawing with this dip pen was so fun for me, and I just had so much fun just, you know, experimenting with color and line and all of that, and yeah, I had fun. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got something out of it as well. Now, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it with a friend as well. I hope you have a beautiful day. Please stay safe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye everyone.